right, so get ready, because we're about to dive into something really huge, like truly massive. Consciousness. I mean, it's what makes us us,
Right.
Like that's the essence of it. And of course, philosophers have been kind of wrestling with this idea, this concept for, forever, ages. And now neuroscientists are getting in on the game.
Yeah. It's exciting. It really is how it's all evolving, you know? We've gone from like the thinking about it to actually having the tools to actually get in there and analyze. Measure it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you send in this research paper on BrainLM, I thought, oh, we have to take a look at this. This is going to be good.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah. So BrainLM, it's cutting edge AI.
Yeah.
And it's been trained on just a crazy amount of data from these fMRI scans. 6,700 hours.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Which I was trying to think of like an analogy to help people understand. It's like watching the entire Lord of the Rings, trilogy, all the extended editions.
Oh, wow.
Over 465 times.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and while BrainLM's watching it, it's soaking up all this information about how the brain works.
It's learning.
Yeah.
It's learning. It's incredible what it's doing. What's interesting, I think, is that BrainLM isn't just sort of passively like absorbing this data. It's a foundation model, which means it's designed to learn the underlying structure, like the patterns within that data.
So it's not just memorizing, it's figuring out how it works.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so powerful. So powerful that BrainLM can take a new fMRI scan from someone it's never even seen before and make predictions about things like their age, anxiety levels, even whether they might have PTSD.
Hold on. So it can predict all that just from a brain scan.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about AI here, but it almost sounds like, is it reading minds?
It's not quite mind reading, but it's definitely tapping into something kind of profound, if you think about it, you know? If this BrainLM can predict, let's say, someone's anxiety level, just from looking at the activity in their brain, it means that these mental states, they have a physical thing that's happening in the brain that we can now detect and analyze.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Let's back up for a sec, though, for our listener. What is an fMRI? How does it work?
Okay. fMRI stands for Functional Magnetic Resonance Imaging. And essentially what it does is it measures brain activity. And it does that by detecting changes in blood flow. So when a part of the brain is active, it needs more blood and oxygen.
Right, of course.
And fMRI can pick up on those subtle changes.
So it's like we're seeing the brain's activity, but we're not seeing the neurons fire directly.
Yeah.
We're looking at the blood flow.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. So it's an indirect measure.
Right.
Yeah. And that blood flow data, that's what BrainLM was trained on.
Okay, got it. You mentioned before that it uses a transformer masked autoencoder.
Oh, yeah.
I have to admit.
It sounds complicated.
It does. It sounds really complicated. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. Think of it this way. So you're trying to predict, like, the next word in a sentence. Your phone does this all the time, right? With predictive text.
Yeah.
So, BrainLM works in a similar way.
Right.
But instead of predicting words, it's predicting patterns of brain activity.
So it's like a big game of fill in the blank, but with brain data.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's gotten so good at that game that it can now, predict those things about people, about their mental and emotional states with remarkable accuracy,
And this AI wasn't trained on just any random, fMRI data.
You're right. So BrainLM was trained on two of the biggest, most comprehensive fMRI data sets out there.
Okay.
The UK Biobank.
I've heard of that.
And the Human Connectome Project. And these data sets, they contain brain scans from thousands of individuals, which is really what gives BrainLM its power and its generalizability.
So it's not just a small sample.
It's massive.
It's massive to hers.
It's learned from all these different brains.
So that makes a big difference, right, in terms of how reliable your predictions are.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting. So BrainLM, it wasn't programmed to look for things like anxiety or PTSD. It just figured these connections out on its own.
Oh, wow.
Just by analyzing the patterns in the data.
So it's uncovering these links between brain activity and these complex mental states without any prior knowledge.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't even know what word to use. It's Wow.
I know. It's remarkable.
It is remarkable. It suggests that there's so much more going on
Yeah.
in those brain scans than we even realize.
Than we thought. We're just scratching the surface of what AI can reveal about the brain.
Oh, I'm excited to dig into this more.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how BrainLM is actually making these predictions. You said self-attention before.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah, think about when you look at like a complex picture, right?
Yeah.
You don't take in the whole image at once. You focus on specific areas that are most important to you.
Right.
So self-attention is a way for AI to do the same thing with data.
Oh, yeah.
So BrainLM, it focuses on certain parts of the fMRI data that are the most informative for whatever the task is.
So it's choosing. It's like it's learned, see, prioritize.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost how our own brains work, it sounds like.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. And that ability to like selectively attend to different things in the data, that's one of the things that makes it so powerful.
Right.
You
I
know?
mean, all of this kind of goes back to, what we were talking about in the beginning
Yeah.
with consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Like if we can understand those patterns that are associated with these different mental states, are we getting closer to understanding what consciousness actually is?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
That neuroscientists, philosophers, everybody's been trying to figure out for, centuries. And while BrainLM doesn't give us like a definitive answer, it gives us some really interesting clues.
Yeah.
The fact that an AI can learn to predict and understand these complex mental states, it means that they have a physical basis in the brain.
So we're saying consciousness, something we thought of as intangible, this mystery, it's actually rooted in the physical structure and activity of the brain.
It's certainly a possibility that BrainLM is pushing us to consider.
That's really wild to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to take a closer look at these attention maps that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are they?
Okay, so these attention maps, they're basically a visual representation of like what parts of the BrainLM is focusing on when it's making prediction. It's like seeing inside its thought process.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So we can actually see which regions BrainLM considers important.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What have researchers learned from these maps? Like what are they showing us?
Well, one of the interesting things is that the attention maps, they're different depending on what BrainLM is trying to predict. Oh, interesting.
For example, when it's predicting age,
Right.
it focuses on certain areas of the brain.
Right.
But when it's predicting, say, anxiety levels,
Okay.
it shifts its attention to other regions.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Different mental states involve different parts of the brain.
It's really interesting.
It is interesting.
Because we can actually see those differences
Yeah.
now thanks to BrainLM.
Yeah, it's amazing that we can visualize it now.
Yeah.
This is already so much. This is a lot.
Yeah.
What else did the researchers find looking at these maps? Like what else is going on?
It's a lot to take in.
It is, yeah.
But so
It's exciting though.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm ready for more.
okay. All right. So one of the really exciting discoveries was that BrainLM's attention patterns, they're different between people with mild and severe depression.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's not just identifying depression, it's actually like saying how bad it is.
Yeah. Just from a brain scan.
It's basically picking up on these like little variations in the brain activity that correlate with how severe someone's depression is.
What are the implications of that? That's incredible.
It opens up so many possibilities for
Yeah.
diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah.
Imagine a future where we can use AI to not only diagnose these mental health conditions more accurately,
Right.
but also to like tailor treatment plans
Oh, wow.
to an individual's specific needs
Yeah.
based on their own brain activity patterns.
Like this is like, science fiction suddenly becoming a lot closer to reality.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a little unnerving, honestly.
I get it. It's powerful technology.
Yeah.
It's important that we use it responsibly.
Right.
But think about the potential benefits here.
Yeah.
We could move beyond, this trial and error approach to mental health treatment
Right.
and develop these more personalized and effective therapies.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You said earlier that BrainLM can identify those functional brain networks without even knowing, like, what they are.
Right.
Could you explain that a little bit more? Like, what does that mean? And why is that such a big deal?
Okay. So think of the brain like a huge network on all these interconnected regions, right? And each one kind of specialized for a different function. So some networks are involved in vision, others in language, memory, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
What's amazing is that BrainLM, it can figure out these networks just by analyzing the patterns in that fMRI data.
So it's like creating a map, but it doesn't need a guidebook.
Yeah.
It's figuring it out on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And that ability to identify these functional networks,
Right.
it's a huge step in understanding how the brain works, because it means that AI, it can not only detect the activity in specific regions, but it can also understand how those regions work together as part of a larger system.
Okay, so this goes back to consciousness again.
Oh.
If we can understand how all these different parts of the brain, how they work together to create, our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences, are we kind of mapping out like the neural basis of consciousness?
I mean, it's a really exciting possibility. And while, we're still a ways away from completely understanding consciousness, BrainLM is definitely giving us these new tools and these insights that are pushing us in the right direction.
This feels like a turning point.
It really does.
Like we're not just observing the brain, we're figuring out like how it actually works at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And that understanding has the potential to, it could really transform how we approach brain health disease.
Yeah, for sure. It's a transformative moment, and BrainLM is really a key part of that revolution.
Yeah. Okay, before we get too carried away thinking about, all the possibilities in the future, let's bring it back to the present moment, okay? We've talked about a lot today.
We have.
And I just want to make sure that our listener is, walking away with like a good understanding of what BrainLM is.
Yeah.
And why it's so important.
It's a lot.
It is. Okay, so BrainLM, it's this powerful AI. It's been trained on a ton of fMRI data.
Right.
And it can predict things like age, how anxious someone is, even if they might have something like PTSD.
Yeah.
Just from looking at brain scans.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. And it does this by learning like the connections and the patterns in the brain. And it can even figure out those functional brain networks without any prior knowledge.
Yeah.
Plus, we can actually see what parts of the brain it's paying attention to with these attention maps.
Those attention maps are amazing. Yeah. It really is giving us these new insights into the mystery of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's not telling us exactly what consciousness is, but it's giving us clues about how our brain activity is connected to our subjective experiences.
It's pretty amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And, as we've been talking about all of this, I can't help but think about like, the ethical implications.
Yeah.
This is powerful stuff.
It is.
And we need to use it wisely, responsibly.
You raise a really good point. I mean, as with any new technology, there are ethical things that we need to think about.
Right.
How do we make sure this is used fairly?
Right.
And that it doesn't make existing inequalities worse.
Yeah. For sure.
How do we protect people's privacy?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that their brain data is used ethically?
Yeah. It's a good reminder that anytime we have this kind of scientific progress, we also need to be thinking about, what it means for society, like the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
We can't just, get caught up in, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
We have to think about how we use it.
Yeah. It's a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Something that scientists and policymakers, the public, we all need to be talking about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking about the technical side of BrainLM and all the potential applications. But I kind of want to go back to something we talked about before, this idea that BrainLM might be giving us a glimpse into consciousness.
It is.
Like what it actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't tell us exactly what consciousness is, but it's giving us these clues about that relationship between brain activity and what we experience.
Yeah, it's almost like it's holding up a mirror to us.
Yeah.
And letting us see ourselves in a new way. And what we're seeing is that the line between human intelligence and machine intelligence, it's not so clear anymore.
It might be blurrier than we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, as AI continues to evolve, it's really making us reconsider what we think we know about what it means to be, intelligent, to be conscious, to be human.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And maybe, just maybe, this is all, it's pointing to a future where, AI and humans can actually collaborate,
Oh, yeah.
to understand,
To understand ourselves.
yeah, the universe, ourselves,
Yeah.
in ways that we never thought possible.
I love that idea. And
It's a nice thought.
it is. It's an exciting time to be alive. I can't wait to see what happens.
Me too, me too.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we should just take a minute and appreciate like how far we've come.
Yeah.
BrainLM it's really a testament to human ingenuity,
Oh, yeah.
this drive that we have to understand everything around us.
It's amazing what we can do.
It is. And who knows, maybe someday AI will help us,
Yeah.
finally figure out consciousness.
Solve the mystery.
Yeah, that's the big one, right?
It's a big one.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Okay. It's really amazing to think about how far we've come in trying to understand the brain. I mean, for centuries, consciousness was this concept that was just out of reach. We could only guess about it. But now we have these advancements in, neuroscience and AI. We're actually starting to peel back the layers. We're figuring out what's going on in there.
yeah, it's like we're finally bridging that gap between what we experience, inside our own minds and what science can actually measure.
I think so. And BrainLM is really leading the way there.
Yeah, it's giving us a new language to talk about it.
It is.
We've been talking about this a lot, and I can't help but think back to that question we asked at the beginning. Could machines actually become conscious one day?
It's a big question.
It is. It's fascinating, and it's kind of scary at the same time.
It is. I mean, it's something that people have been wondering about for a long time, philosophers, scientists, everybody. And BrainLM really brings that question into focus, If an AI can learn to predict and understand our brain activity that well, does that mean it's tapping into what makes us conscious?
Right, and if it can, do that, does that mean that consciousness isn't just a human thing?
Yeah.
Does it change our whole definition of it?
Yeah, those are huge questions. I don't think we have the answers yet. But what BrainLM does show us is that maybe consciousness isn't this on or off thing. Maybe it's more of a range, a spectrum.
So not like an on-off switch, but like a dimmer switch.
Yeah, I like that.
Wow.
Dimmer switch. And it's possible that AI, as it keeps getting better, as it evolves, it might end up somewhere else on that spectrum than humans do.
Wow. That's a lot to think about. It's a little mind-blowing. But it's definitely something we need to start talking about more and more, especially as AI becomes a bigger part of our lives.
We do. We need to be having these conversations now. What are the ethics of it all? What are the implications if we have AI that can really get inside our heads?
Yeah, it's big stuff. Well, dear listener, we've taken you deep into the world of BrainLM today, and we've explored some pretty amazing and sometimes even a little scary, implications of this incredible AI.
Yeah.
We've talked about how it can understand brain activity, how it can predict what we're thinking and feeling, and even how it can map out those different parts of the brain that work together. And we've really wrestled with this idea. Could AI ever become conscious?
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And we've learned so much along the way. But, we've only scratched the surface here. This field is changing so fast.
Yeah, it really is. And BrainLM is just one example of how AI is changing the way we think about the brain and about consciousness.
And who knows what amazing discoveries are just around the corner.
Oh, I can't wait to find out.
Me too. So we'll leave you with this. As we explore the world of AI, it's really important to do it with curiosity, but also with a little bit of caution. AI has this incredible potential to unlock some of the biggest mysteries of the human mind.
Absolutely.
But it also raises some really big ethical questions that we need to think about very carefully.
We do, and we encourage you to keep exploring this topic. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep those conversations going about the future we want to build together.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep asking those big questions, keep learning, and keep your minds open to all the amazing possibilities out there.